Hi, Arcfieldweather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday morning, July 20th. We'll talk about the heat around the northern hemisphere. We're now in the second half of the month of July, and from a climatological point of view, this is around the hottest point of the summer season for many parts of the northern hemisphere. Maybe the third week of July, statistically speaking, has some of the highest temperatures for the summer season. Yesterday, of course, saw some excessive heat in parts of Western Europe. They will be much better off today. Temperatures, for example, this afternoon could hold in the upper 70s, places like London and Paris. Yesterday, London was above 100 degrees for recording some of their highest temperatures ever. In the northeastern part of the U.S. and the Mid-Atlantic region, looks like we are now entering our longest stretch of heat and humidity, beginning today and lasting right through the upcoming weekend. Places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, some of the hottest and most humid weather we've experienced so far this summer season, which has been relatively good in terms of the heat and humidity for the Mid-Atlantic Northeastern U.S. It looks like the heat will peak this weekend in the Mid-Atlantic Northeast U.S. On Sunday afternoon, for example. There's a possibility of highs in the upper 90s, places like D.C., maybe even mid to upper 90s, Philly, New York City. We'll talk about that in a moment. Let's start off with Western Europe. This is the 850 millibar temperature anomaly analysis for yesterday morning, Tuesday morning, and just take a look at how much above normal this was on Tuesday morning. This is yesterday morning. United Kingdom right here. We have Portugal, Spain, France, and Germany, and certainly some 20 to 25 degrees above normal. And again, this is yesterday morning, Tuesday morning. By the way, at the same time, much of Eastern Europe was enjoying cooler than normal conditions, really a wide range of Eastern Europe with below normal temperatures. This is again on Tuesday morning. Now, let's take a look at the difference this morning. And here we go. Quite a bit of a difference here across the United Kingdom from this yesterday morning to this currently, this morning, Wednesday morning, even cooler than normal, moving into the United Kingdom with relatively close to normal portions of the other portions of Western Europe. Again, Spain, France, and Germany still above normal, but even there, we'll move forward here. Things do get better over the next few days, certainly compared to what was experienced yesterday and Monday as well. This is tomorrow morning, cooler than normal across much of the United Kingdom. We'll go forward in time here for Western Europe, and they do get back to above normal, but it's pretty transient. Here's an above normal day over the upcoming weekend on Sunday, but then notice cooler than normal conditions again move in from the north and west by the time we get to the early part of next week. And in fact, certainly can see some below normal conditions across the United Kingdom early next week. Now let's get back to the continental U.S. and we're looking again at 850 millibar temperature anomalies using the 0Z run of the GFS, the operational version. And a lot of the excessive heat over recent days has been confined to the central part of the nation. We've basically enjoyed some decent summer conditions over the last several weeks in the Mid-Atlantic region, the Northeast U.S., but there'll be an incursion of the heat, an expansion of the heat and humidity from the central U.S. into the Mid-Atlantic Northeast U.S., maybe 90 to 95 degrees over the next few days, places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, but then real hot conditions coming this week, and it looks like this heat will peak probably on Sunday afternoon. Then there's relief coming early next week. Let's move forward from Wednesday morning. Again, 90 to 95 degrees likely along the I-95 corridor this afternoon. Humid as well. Still some very hot conditions across the southern states and the south central U.S. And it's still hot going into Thursday and Friday. This is now Friday morning. Still, again, hot conditions here, but nothing too excessive. Then watch what happens in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast U.S. over the upcoming weekend. Here we are on Saturday night. Notice the anomalies, those temperatures relative to normal for this time of the year at the 850 millibar level by Sunday morning, highest of all during this hot stretch that begins today and lasts right through the upcoming weekend. Again, Sunday could very well turn out to be the hottest day in this stretch. High temperatures not out of the question to see the upper 90s in D.C., maybe a flirtation with the 100-degree mark, mid to upper 90s possible on Sunday in Philly and New York City. Notice upstream some cooler than normal air crossing into the Great Lakes, and by the time we get to the early part of next week, it looks like there will be a cold frontal system sliding through the northeastern part of the nation, and indeed cooler than normal conditions, or at least back to normal much of the Mid-Atlantic region, and likely cooler than normal across New England and the rest of the northeastern part of the country by the early part of next week. Now, in terms of rainfall, let's take a look at the next several days, again using the 0Z run of the operational GFS. Not much going on in terms of rainfall in the Mid-Atlantic region or the Northeast U.S. today. Basically a rain-free, hot and humid kind of a day. Then we have a frontal system here by tomorrow morning. Notice the kind of the kinkiness in the isobar pattern right here. And there's a frontal system right in this region as of tomorrow morning. It's a relatively weak front. Certainly can set off a shower or thunderstorm, especially during the afternoon on Thursday in the Mid-Atlantic, in the Northeast U.S. Here we go by midday tomorrow, and then by tomorrow evening. And this frontal system, again, relatively weak, and really didn't move much here between tomorrow morning and tomorrow evening. Kind of stalls out, tends to dissipate over the next couple of days. In other words, it will not provide any kind of relief for the Mid-Atlantic region. It could set off an isolated shower or thunderstorm on Thursday or Thursday evening. Again, isolated to scattered at best. Friday, another relatively hot, humid day, 90 degrees or so. Then we get into the upcoming weekend. Here we are on Saturday. And notice here a lot of southwesterly flow across the central part of the nation. Basically rain-free conditions likely on Saturday in the Mid-Atlantic region. Again, the heat looks like it'll peak this upcoming week, and maybe mid-90s on Saturday, and then the hottest weather could very well be on Sunday. Here we go with the next frontal system by Sunday morning, starting to show up on the maps across the Great Lakes region, right in this region right here. A cool high-pressure system dropping to the south and east from central Canada. But before we get into that relief early next week in the Mid-Atlantic region, this is Sunday morning. This again could turn out to be the hottest day of the next several, with upper 90s possible in places like D.C., for example, for afternoon highs. Let's move forward here. And then we will certainly look upstream. Here's a frontal system right here as we get into Sunday evening, and a cool Canadian high over south central Canada. There'll be cooler air dropping across the Great Lakes, and it looks like we'll get relief back in the Mid-Atlantic region by the time we get to the early part of next week. Monday morning, the front at this particular time lies right across the I-95 corridor. Certainly could set off some shower, thunderstorm activity, let's say late Sunday, Sunday night, and again on a Monday. Then we'll move forward, and by the time we get to Tuesday, and here's the Tuesday morning forecast map, we're probably talking about high temperatures back in the 80s, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. So the excessive heat of yesterday, Western Europe certainly wanes today, and they'll be much better off today than they were yesterday in places like London and Paris. Meanwhile, in the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast U.S., the hottest stretch of weather so far this summer season coming, beginning today and lasting right through the upcoming weekend. It looks like this heat during this spell will peak this weekend. Very hot conditions on Saturday, and especially looks like on Sunday afternoon. Again, upper 90s possible, for example, in places like the D.C. metro region. Certainly looks like some relief is coming beyond that, not only for Western Europe early next week, but also for the Mid-Atlantic Northeast U.S. early next week. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.